This is just a quick video to see how stubbing works in Sinon. I have a very simple project here with just SinonJS as my dependency, as you can see. I'm just going to do all of this stuff within the REPL itself. So the first thing that I want to do is pull in the Sinon library. Say I want a typical use case where we have maybe an object that deals with the fetching stuff from the database. So you can imagine that we have an all function that probably returns a bunch of records from the database, and a create function maybe that creates a record in the database. If I want to unit test maybe a router that uses this object to fetch results from a database for an HTTP request, I'd need to stub this out so that my tests are not flaky, not slow, all of the benefits that we get from writing unit tests. And so for me to effectively unit test this, I need to be able to stub these behaviors in my unit test. And the way we do that with Sinon is we create a stub object. So let me go ahead and create a stub object, call it stub obj, and we say sinon.stub and give it the object we want to stub. What this does is actually stubs all of the functions within the object itself. But let's start off with just stubbing the all method or the all function. So I'm going to say all stub is equal to sinon stub the object and only stub the all function. And so you see that we get back the all functions, the all function back, but it's a stub representation. So maybe we can say we want the all stub to return. This is how you define behavior within Sinon itself. You can say the stub should return or returns an array of objects. You would expect that a database has the all function within the database would return a bunch of objects. And so we can say you give me back an object of ID 1 and maybe a name of John Doe. And if I was to call the object.all method, I should get back this array. So great, we actually did stub this functionality correctly and we defined its behavior. One thing that you should know when you're using Sinon is if you're going to stub an object out, it doesn't get restored automatically. So you will have to restore this function maybe at the end of your unit test. And now if I was to call the object dot all function, it actually returns undefined. So we successfully stubbed the object out and then restored it. Say we have an object with a large number of functions and properties on it. We wouldn't want to necessarily go ahead and create sinon.stub and passing the individual values here one by one. Maybe what we want is to say we want to create an object stub that stubs out the whole object. And when I do this, you see that I get back an object itself with all of the functions being stubbed. And so now I can still define the same behavior. Let me just quickly go and copy this in the same way, but then this time define it on the object stub. And now if I say object.all, I still get back the same result. I can do the same thing for the create function. So object stub.create. Maybe this time we want to assert that, if the database throws for some reason when we are getting the request, that we want to return a custom error message, maybe with a 500 status code. So I can say create throws maybe an error that says, it wouldn't really matter what it says here because the unit test doesn't really care, but say you did, you can say some DB error, just for the lack of something better at the moment. And so if I was to say object.create now, we'll actually get back the uncaught error, some DB connection. So how do we actually restore this? Well, one of the downsides of using the sinon.stub approach to stubbing methods of an object is that you will have to go and individually restore those functions, And so I'll have to go and do this for each and every function. And that's why Sinon actually came about with the sandbox. So you can create a sandbox here, and this returns back to you, a sandbox instance, wherein you can create stubs on the sandbox. you can say now, so let's say we had a sandbox. We can say sandbox dot stub and now give it the object, and this would give me back the stubbed object. And so here I can define the same thing. I'll just quickly go only for one function. So maybe we stub out the all method from this object. And so if I say object.all, we still get back the. And so the advantage here now is that we can restore all of the methods within that original object at once. So I just have to say sandbox.restore, and all of the original implementations will be restored. So if I was to call all, nothing actually happens. And so that's Sinon stubbing in a nutshell. I hope you guys liked that video. Until next time.